movie heroes frequently have to make significant sacrifices to win the day. These sacrifices, however, aren't always necessary. In this video, we'll be taking a look at 10 heroic sacrifices that were barely necessary. These sacrifices may have given the heroes badass appearances, but let's be honest, they left a weird impact on the movies. Everything would have been well if they just made a different decision. Let's start with the time Dick Halloran returned to the hotel in The Shining. One of the greatest WTF head fakes in horror movie history is Dick Halloran's demise in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. It's also one of the most notorious uses of the racist trope in which black victims of terror are killed to heighten the drama and sympathy of white victims' misery. When writer Jack Torrance accepts a job as a winter caretaker at the Overlook Hotel, the demonic spirits tempted him to try to murder his family. While on vacation, Chef Dick Halloran uses his psychic skills to dig that something is off. Then he arrives there only for Jack to kill him. Dick's choice to shorten his vacation is motivated by his desire to prevent Jack's family from passing away. However, going to the hotel himself isn't the best course of action, since the Colorado police could have handled it instead, as they're obviously more prepared to deal with a deadly Jack. The only murder in The Shining is that of Dick, whose passing serves as both a shocking turn of events and an inevitable climax. Up until that horrible gory moment, you believe Dick will make things right in the Overlook, but you know he won't. The long voyage across the country, however, feels, in hindsight, like a trip to the axe once you know his fate, and you suddenly comprehend that sharp-edged dread that has been swinging throughout the film. Next up, when R.J. McCready detonated the thing at the base. McCready is faced with the difficult decision of destroying the entire facility and everyone inside to eradicate an extraterrestrial parasite that is consuming the bodies of Antarctic Research Center personnel. However, while he's leaving, he runs into yet another co-worker who also has the disease. McCready's choice is motivated by his desire to save all humanity. It wouldn't be malicious for him to blow up the facility, since the majority of the employees are likely already afflicted. But none of it matters, because not everyone who was afflicted was present. Even though it isn't explicitly shown, it is implied that the alien continues to merge with him. Moving on to the time James Bond decided to die in No Time to Die. Yes, 007 takes the L for the first time in his 59-year movie history and 68-year literary history. The title of the film was deceptive. It's also rather conclusive. Safin had severely injured him, and the missile strike destroyed the island. Agent 007 is infected with nanobots that can murder his lover Madeline and their daughter Mathilde during his battle with Safin. He decided to stay on the island and succumb to the missile attack rather than leave to avoid contaminating the other two. The renowned spy appeared at ease with his destiny. Although it's an intriguing approach to end Daniel Craig's Bond adventures, it's not a practical one. That's because it was established earlier in the film that the nanobots could be modified to target various DNAs of people. After all, Agent 007 was originally intended for the nanobots that killed a group of Spectre members in Cuba before they were redesigned. Therefore, Bond ought to have left the island and gone into hiding until the bots were redesigned. Now, for the time Gandalf stood on the edge of the bridge in The Lord of the Rings. Gandalf faces the ancient fire and shadow demon Balrog during its assault. He decides to knock down the bridge where Balrog is, and they both fall off of it. Not the smartest move, It's a brave step for Gandalf to face the monster alone, but even though he has the ability to destroy the bridge from a distance, he chooses to do so while still close to Balrog. He's killed as a consequence. The sequel features a revived Gandalf, who, on the plus side, returns. Next, let's look at how David killed his family to protect them from a horrific alien attack, the Mist. When a mist inundated the town and strange monsters appear, David, his kid, and a group of other survivors are left stuck at a supermarket. Later, the two and a few companions decide to leave, but seeing little hope, he decides to shoot them, leaving only him to experience the horrifying alien invasion. But soon after executing them, it becomes clear that the army has kept things under control. Given that David had seen firsthand how vicious the animals were, and that he didn't want his son to experience such a terrible death, his choice wasn't wholly irrational, but he pays for his impulsivity. He could have spared them all if he had just shown a little more patience. The movie's twist ending, which is significantly superior to the one in the novel, is what distinguishes it as one of the best Stephen King adaptations. On the pages, David, his son, and the buddies just drive off, leaving us to wonder what happened to them. Time for T-800 to self-terminate, Terminator 2. It's one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's most alarming characters, the T-800, who self-terminates after successfully defending John Connor against the T-1000, eliminating all Terminator technology in the process. Everything it was attempting to stop, including the development of new machines and Sarah Connor's demise, nevertheless continues to occur in the future. T-800's arrogant belief that he holds the key to the future of machines is foolish, since there are always a lot of prototypes. He couldn't have been the result of one corporation putting all its eggs in one basket. However, given that it's simply a programmed cyborg, one could excuse it for lacking an analytical intellect. Let's move on to the time Dr. Matthew Bennell refused to sleep, Body Snatchers Invasion. In one of the films, in which the aliens triumph, deadly gelatinous infiltrate San Francisco and distinguish themselves as tiny flower pods. That they take over the bodies of everyone who is sleeping. Dr. Matthew Bonnell, a health inspector, vows to stay awake for days to avoid that fate and stop the aliens. However, it is later revealed that he has also been infected. Staying awake for days is a difficult feat, and audiences can't help but root for Dr. Bonnell as he dedicates himself. After all, he is doing it not just for himself, but for all humanity. He's desperate to find a way to send the aliens back to where they came from, but unfortunately, his efforts are futile. Up next is how Darth Maul got pursued by Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. One of the greatest Star Wars villains, Darth Maul, is pursued by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. When Obi-Wan withdraws from the battle, Qui-Gon Jinn chooses to take on the villain alone. He thus ends up being slain. While taking down Darth Maul is a crucial priority, Qui-Gon shouldn't attempt to do it alone. After all, he'd already fallen victim to the same criminal. Additionally, Captain Panaka and his security guards are on hand as support. Qui-Gon would have lived if they had practiced a little more collaboration, not to mention how Jack froze to death. Titanic. Was Jack Dawson's death on Titanic really necessary? In James Cameron's 1997 film, the fictional character played by Leonardo DiCaprio falls victim to Mother Nature's fury, causing some spectators to grieve again and again, while others wonder if he might have been saved by his beloved Rose. However, the size of the door that was floating in the Atlantic Ocean had little to do with Jack's tragic passing. Jack pulls Rose onto a buoyant wood panel, bids her farewell, and then freezes to death so that they won't both risk dying. Rose is rescued by a lifeboat a short while later. We find it heartbreaking how Jack gives his life up for the love of his life. Many people have noted that there is a simple solution to the problem of only having room for one person over the years. Until aid arrived, the two might have simply alternated between swimming and holding on to the piece of wood. After all, assistance didn't take too long to arrive. They had the opportunity to save both of their lives. Up last is how Jonathan Kent died to keep Clark's secret, Man of Steel. In order to keep his powers a secret, Jonathan begs a young Clark not to help him as he is sucked into a storm. Clark consequently has no father figure. Given that Clark will eventually use his powers in public, it's a pointless sacrifice. Clark only needs to excuse himself, then appear in a flash-like swoop to rescue Jonathan, despite the fact that Jonathan is scared the onlookers would see his face. No one will ever find out who or what saved Jonathan in this way. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on these totally heroic sacrifices? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.